Hello YouTube, it's Snowflarky Zemos wishing you a happy Halloween to all those out here on YouTube. And for Halloween, I've decided that for today's deck, I wanted to talk about my Zombie Vanilla Phantasm Spiral deck. As if you don't know, normal monsters are my favorite type of monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! When I first got back into playing in college in 2013, I was all about building good normal monster decks, trying to make use of all the things that normal monster can do with their exclusive support and the ability to play cards like Skill Drain, that it became a go-to, and I have been in love with normal monsters ever since. And as a result, I have so many different variations of normal monster decks. Phantasm Spiral is a deck that I'm a huge fan of, gave normal monsters a lot of support in a way that turned it into a pretty solid rogue stun deck for a bit. And having that option is great. And so, in my time playing around with all the different normal monsters that are out, I had come across a zombie build that I brewed up that is pretty fun to play. Make use of cards like Ill Bud to just summon and recur normal zombie monsters. Gives that really zombie overtaking flow. So I'm a big fan of it and thought, given that it is the spooky season, no better time than to bring it and talk about it. So let's move into the profile. Starting off our profile, let's talk about the monsters. I am playing two copies of Ill Bud. Now, I mentioned that this is a Phantasm Spiral normal monster deck, so seeing an effect monster as the cover card may be quite confusing, but Ill Blood is a very cool, awesome artwork monster, but besides that, it is a Gemini monster. And if you do not know, Gemini monsters are essentially effect monsters that when they are on the field or in the graveyard, they count as normal monsters until you use an additional normal summon them to Gemini summon them as an effect monster. So when you summon Ill Blood normally, it starts off as a normal monster, and when it's a normal monster on the field, that means you're able to use all the normal monster synergies a Phantasm Spiral deck can use with it. So, Ill Blood, it's a one tribute monster, and it's pretty easy to find a tribute. You know, you have a deck that produces tokens, and you'll want to get rid of your own token so that you can produce another token. So you contribute that token off for an Ill Blood, and it's a 2100 attack normal zombie monster, and if you use an extra normal summon, you can Gemini summon it into a monster that gains the effect once per turn. You can special summon a zombie type monster from your hand or from either graveyard. But if this card leaves the field, destroy all zombie type monsters special summoned by this effect. So if you have other zombies in the grave, say another Ill Blood or any of the other normal zombie monsters that we play in the deck, you can use that effect to summon them from the grave, get more monsters on the field, attack, do more damage. Very cool. So, you know, just a little boss monster to play and get more zombies back on the field. It's pretty cool, and we get to use this sick monster. Next up, the main normal zombie that we are playing going into. I got three copies of Zombino. It's a 2000 attack, 4-star normal zombie. That's the highest attack on a normal monster zombie that we can just summon for free. It's, you know, with 2000 attack, it being a zombie, it goes with the theme. It's exactly what we're looking for. It can be summoned from the graveyard off of Ill Blood, and 2000 attack just does a lot of damage. Very happy to have three copies of Zombino. And last up for our monsters, I am playing three copies of Heavy Knight of the Flame. Another looks to be effect monster, but is actually another Gemini monster. After Zombino, the next highest attack zombie normal monster is Master Kyonshi, which has 1750, which is pretty good. But given that Heavy Knight of the Flame is a zombie that has 1800 attack, and that when it's on the field, it is a Gemini monster, which means it's a normal monster when I first summon it. I find that the synergy is enough to be worth the 50 extra attack, and on top of that, Heavy Knight of the Flame, if you choose to Gemini summon it, actually has a really nice additional effect where that essentially at the start of the damage step, if this card attacked a special summon monster, you can banish that monster. So non-targeting, non-destruction removal is always a nice thing to have. You just attack any special summon monster and banish it. So that's pretty cool. That effect can come in handy, which is enough reason for me to choose to pick this over Master Kion Shi. And that is it for our monsters, mostly zombies. And as a Phantasm Spiral deck, this is a Demise style deck, so you don't play too many monsters just because you can't really summon a bunch at once. Next, we are going to move on to the spell cards, starting off with 3, Pacifist of Phantasm City, the lifeblood of a Phantasm City, of a Phantasm deck. Great card for normal monsters. Card essentially says you cannot normal or special summon effect monsters during the turn you use either of this card's effects. And essentially what this card's effect is that once per turn, if you normal or special summon exactly one normal monster and no other cards, you can add a Phantasm Spiral card from the deck to your hand. So that's pretty good. You can gain card advantage, and do note that when you summon Heavy Knight of the Flame from your hand, normal summon it, when it's on the field, it counts as a normal monster, so it will trigger Pacifist effect to search. And of course, then if your opponent activates a card or effect except during the damage step and you control no tokens, you can special summon a Phantasm Spiral token, which is a worm type water monster, 8 stars, 2000 attack, 2000 defense. Very good, gives you an extra body on the board. The token can be used to tribute for ill blood. Give you extra attack stat. The token comes in quite handy, so we definitely want to see it. Counts as a normal monster as well, so if you summon the token on your opponent's turn, it will re-trigger the effect. Very cool card. Is also a bit of a confusing card when you play because there's a lot of ruling shenanigans about like when your opponent dark holes a token and the token is gone, the card will immediately reactivate and summon the token again because by the time the effect resolves, you don't control a token if your opponent activated that card. So you'll have to do some reading and keep up on it. It can be a bit of a rulings nightmare, but very powerful card for normal monster decks, and we are glad to have it. Next up, running a copy of Terraforming. Getting Pacifist is super important, so we want to play Terraforming in order to make sure we get to it. And next up, we are playing some consistency cards. We're going to start with 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Very easy to get away with not special summoning on your turn. You know, you can delay Ill Blood's effect by a turn, and really special summoning only happens through either the Pacifist effect or Ill Blood's effect. So many turns you will not be special summoning, and you can just Pot of Duality dig through your deck for whatever crucial card you need to have your opponent on lockdown. Nice little consistency boost. And for some draw power, we are playing 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Not a lot for us to do with our extra deck in this case, so we might as well turn that extra deck into card advantage. At the start of your main phase 1, banish 3 to 6 face down cards from your extra deck. And if you do, you draw a card for 1 card for every 3 that you did, and you can't draw for the rest of the turn. So pretty good. Just turn that extra deck into a +1. You know, you get Pot of Greed. You can only activate once per turn, but still pretty good. Gets you crucial cards, digs you further in your deck, and at the cost of extra deck cards you can't really use much anyway. Next up, for the last spell, I'm playing a copy of Card of Demise, another great draw spell that essentially you draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. In exchange, you can't special summon during the turn you use it, and at the end of the turn you get to discard everything that remains in your hand. But we're playing lots of spells and traps, so most things that you draw can be set face down, and if you have to discard a zombie or 2, it's not a big deal. You can come back. There's other ones you can get. So great card. It's limited, so we only have the 1 copy, but Card of Demise to dig further through our deck, and that is it for the spell cards. Next, we are going into our trap lineup, and definitely a lot of trap cards. Phantasm Spiral is sort of a stun deck, so you go first. set up a monster, get your city on board, and then you play lots of trap cards to disrupt and make it hard for your opponent to play afterwards. Starting off, we are playing 3 copies of Phantasm Spiral Battle. This is one of the Phantasm Spiral support cards that you'll search off of Pacifist, and it simply states that as long as the only monsters you control are normal monsters, minimum of 1, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. If Umi is on the field, you can activate this card from your hand. Important to note that Pacifist, the Phantasm City, does count as Umi, so that effect is available. And it has another effect dealing around the Phantasm Spiral equip cards, but we are not playing those, so that effect does not matter. So essentially just a quick play destruction that you can search off of your field spell effect. Definitely makes this worth running. A great disruption tool, great for hitting a problematic spell or trap card. What's important to note though is you have to be smart with how you play around these cards, specifically with the Gemini monsters, because you can only activate the Phantasm Spiral traps if you only control normal monsters, which means if you've already Gemini summoned Ill Blood or Heavy Knight of the Flame into a Gemini monster with their effect, you're not going to be able to activate Phantasm Spiral Battle. So usually you just want to make sure that you play these and destroy what you can before you block yourself off from playing them. Not hard to do. So it's not that problematic, but something to keep in mind when you're playing a normal monster deck that is using Geminis as some of the normal monsters. After that, I'm playing 1 copy of Phantasm Spiral Power. This is another card that can be searched off of the Phantasm City. You have to control only normal monsters to use it, and you target an effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn, and it loses 1,000 attack and defense. So both those effects are only till the end of the turn, but you can use this to negate the effect of a key combo starter your opponent is playing, or, use that 1,000 attack drop to get over a monster. Not as good as battle, but still pretty good, worth having, especially because you can just pull this out of the deck for free by triggering your Pacifist, the Phantasm City searches. Next up, I am playing 2 copies of Sea Stealth Attack. Great card that is necessary to play in any Phantasm City deck. Almost consider running 3, and sometimes I do if it's crucial, but with this being a zombie build where less of my main deck monsters are water, I can't really make use of this card to the full, so I'm just trying it out at 2 right now. Essentially, when this card is activated, you can activate an Umi from your hand or graveyard. So if your Pacifist is in the grave, you can, if it got destroyed already, you can put it right back on the field with Sea Stealth Attack. And then, of course, while Umi is on the field, you can use the other effects of this card. The first one is that once per turn, you can banish a water monster you control this turn until the end phase. Face-up spell or trap cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So that's pretty good. Keeps your Pacifist, the Phantasm City, safe from destruction, and will also keep our other Floodgate trap cards that we'll see later in this deck, unable to be destroyed. Very powerful. Now, none of the zombies, of course, are water monsters, but our token is water monsters. So we can banish the token to activate this effect, and that's something we'll want to do anyway, because if we have our token out on the field and our opponent plays a card and we can banish the token, then we'll be able to re-summon the token with Pacifist effect and then trigger the Phantasm City's ability to search one of the Phantasm Spiral trap cards. So definitely something you'll want to do, and having, floodgates that can't be destroyed is also pretty great. But then there's a second effect at the start of the damage step. If your water monster whose original level is 5 or higher battles an opponent's monster, destroy that monster. Now your token is level 8, so that effect will apply to your level 8 token. So you can use that to destroy cards by battle, that even, things that have larger attack. So pretty useful effect as well. Very great card to have in the Phantasm Spiral deck. Next up, we got the negation set of trap cards, starting off with 3 Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi. This card, when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control a face-up non-effect monster, that includes your token or your normal Zombino or any of the Geminis that are not Gemini summoned, um, you're able to just negate the activation of those effects. And of course, if this set card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon one non-effect monster from your extra deck. So pretty cool, just kind of a solemn judgment for having non-effect monsters. And this deck is full of them, so no reason not to play it. Stop a key crucial card. Multiple of these in the back row can be very problematic for an opponent to deal with. And even if they're destroyed, you can get some cards off of it. So pretty sweet. Next up, I am playing 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. We're playing the archetype exclusive Solemn, and then we'll play Solemn Judgment, because with this, we really just want to say no to crucial cards that are going to out our cards that are stopping our opponent from playing. So if they want to get rid of Phantasm City, if they want to get rid of a crucial Floodgate, you can't protect it with Sea Stealth. You just say no to whatever card, and if you don't, you can even just say no to a normal summon. Keep the board open, poke for damage, end the game quickly. The cost of half your life points, negating a crucial card, is pretty good. And then last, 1 copy of Champion's Vigilance. Definitely a card you can consider cutting, because this card is just solemn if you control a level 7 or higher normal monster. Now, the only monster that is in this deck is the token. That is level 8. But the token is pretty easy to get to, so I like playing just 1 extra copy, use that token to have just another no said to the opponent, negate a spell or trap card. Next up, playing 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster. I go up against a good amount of opponents that are playing back row cards, so having a Heavy Storm Duster ready to answer back row at the end phase, or to play and disrupt a crucial continuous spell or field spell activation, is just nice to have. If you don't like back row and you're going first trap based deck, it's a pretty powerful trap card. You can gain card advantage off of it. Pretty nice. Proves very useful. After that, we're getting into some of our floodgates. I'm playing 1 copy of Skill Drain and 1 copy of Lose 1 Turn. These are kind of effect negation. Floodgates. Skill Drain turns off all effects of effect monsters while they're face up on the field. So, effect monsters are the lifeblood of Yu-Gi-Oh! So turning off monster effects can oftentimes be game winning. One thing I will say about using Skill Drain is you got to be careful, because when you use Skill Drain with the Gemini monsters have their effects negated, and that includes the one that treats them as normal monsters. So they'll no longer be treated as normal monsters. So by the time you play Skill Drain, might be a good idea to consider using up all your Phantasm Spiral battles. Just destroy cards, because once Skill Drain is on the field, your Phantasm Spiral battles will be dead. But if you play it smart and, use your battles before the Skill Drain takes place, doesn't seem to be that big of a problem. And of course, Lose 1 Turn, kind of just a weaker Skill Drain, because we can only play 1. You can only activate this if you don't control special summon monsters. So you definitely got to make sure you activate it before your token gets summoned. And of course, while a monster is face up on the field, negate its effect during the turn that monster was special summoned, and then shift it to defense mode. So, negate the effects of special summon monsters. If your opponent summoned a monster they were really counting on its effect, well, you can make it pretty hard for them to continue further. Next up, more powerful floodgates. 2 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance. Pretty powerful card that's quite a bother for an opponent to deal with. Both players must set spell cards before activation, and they cannot be activated until the next turn after they were set. So if you get this card in your opener and you can get it set, you play your spell cards preemptively, set the spell cards that you want to play on the next turn, and then, of course, you can flip Anti-Spell Fragrance so that all your opponent's spells won't be able to be played on the first turn. Pretty nasty to deal with, and given that this is a continuous trap card, it's another card we can keep safe with Sea Stealth Attack. And next is 1 copy of Summon Limit. Just a Summon limit is just a different floodgate to, have a number of different things going on. It's simple that neither player can summon more than 2 monsters per turn. Definitely something you won't be doing very often unless you got tons of token re-triggers. But that doesn't happen too often, and of course, with a lot of decks, being able to stop them from summoning more than twice can really basically halt them from being able to combo and go off. And if they can't go off, gives you plenty of time to beat them down with your powerful normal monsters before they can respond. And last, for the trap cards, I am playing a copy of Metaverse. It's simply a trap card that allows me to take a field spell from the deck and either activate it or add it to the hand. Terraforming is limited. It's kind of like another copy of Terraforming, and Phantasm City is so important that we need to see it. So if we don't have Phantasm City, but we have Metaverse activated straight from the deck, then we can get things moving. So that is it for the main deck. Next, let's talk about the extra deck. Not too much that we'll go into, as the extra deck mostly serves as extravagance fodder. But there are most things that are in the extra deck it is possible to go into. So starting off, playing 3 copies of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This is the strongest non-effect monster that we can summon off of the effect of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi if it is destroyed by an opponent's card. So 4,500 attack, non-effect monster. Important to note that it's not a normal monster, so you have to make sure your Phantasm Spiral battles are used before Ultimate Dragon hits the field. And of course, 4,500 attack. Its attack isn't everything, but if we're gonna pull something that's not effect, we might as well pull the biggest monster. So 3 copies, so we don't banish all of them off of extravagance. Following suit, I'm playing 2 copies of Master of Oz. I'd probably play a third if I had one, but Master of Oz is just Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, but with 4,200 attack instead of 4,500. And last, to fill that spot for that missing Master of Oz, I have a copy of Meteor Bee Dragon, 3,500 attack, but it is a non-effect monster as well. Of course, you wouldn't summon this if you had Master of Oz or Ultimate Dragon, but we are playing Extravagance, so it is possible all those copies could be banished, leaving you to play to summon that Meteor Bee Dragon. Next up, this is probably my most preferred target for Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi being destroyed to summon, and that's Yugioh the Risen. Now at 2,950, it's significantly weaker than Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, but the great part about this card is that it is a water monster. So with Sea Stealth Attack, we will be able to tag Yugioh the Risen off the field, and that will make it so our field is only normal monsters again, so we can use our Phantasm Spiral cards, and that just gives Yugioh the Risen a form of protection from destruction. Tag it out till the end phase, and then it comes back. So pretty good, if the 4,500 attack isn't needed right away to end the game, then Yugioh is a option for a more resilient and monster that I'm able to flex out of to use the Phantasm Spiral cards. Next, we have 1 copy of Gem Knight Pearl, a level 4 non-effect XZ monster that we can go into. We could also make this one in the deck. Not really much reason to do so, but because we can, and because it also is an option of just a monster we can summon off of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi, I keep it in there at 1. Next up, the rest of the extra deck monsters are more standard stuff, not stuff that's just in there for Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi. 1 copy of Crazy Box with Skill Drain on the field. This is a 3,000 attack monster that can attack. Sometimes, that's what you need to go into. It requires 2 level 4s, so any combination of the Zombino and Heavy Knight of the Flame on the field can make this card. 3,000 attack can get over something that may be walling us off. One copy of Baguska, which with if skill drain's not on the field, I can overlay 2 level 4s into Baguska in defense, and that basically becomes skill drain for 2 turns. It shifts all monsters to defense, and the defense position monsters cannot activate their effects. So you can use that to buy you some turn. Also a decent target to bring off of a Waking the Dragon, which is a good side deck option for this deck to have. And it will explain as we go into the next targets, which are basically just Waking the Dragon side deck targets. One copy of Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon, 3,500 attack monster that is unaffected by card effects. If we play Waking the Dragon and our opponent destroys it, we're able to special summon any monster from our deck or extra deck. So Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon usually being the best one, 3,500 and unaffected by card effects. And of course, if Ultimate Falcon is on the field before you play a card like Skill Drain, then Ultimate Falcon will be unaffected by Skill Drain, so it still has that unaffected protection, and you get to have Skill Drain, which is pretty sick. Definitely cool if you get Ultimate Falcon on the field first, otherwise that does not work. And next up, 3 copies of Yugioh Math Mech Final Sigma. Much like Ultimate Falcon, it's a 3,000 attack monster that's unaffected by card effects other than Math Mech card effects. As long as you summon it to the extra monster zone, that's fine. Nothing else is going to be in that extra monster zone. And, you know, if it's on the field first and then Skill Drain comes up, it still keeps its unaffected status. Very cool. And, of course, it has an effect that says if it does battle damage to an opponent by battling a monster, that damage is doubled. So that's pretty nice. Additional battle damage. Pretty sweet to have. And that is it for our extra deck. So that is it for the Ill Blood Zombie normal deck profile. This is just a fun, silly variant of a Phantasm Spiral deck I can pick up and play to show off some cool cards that otherwise don't get played in any capacity. It's a fun way to spice it up and, you know, bring the power level of Phantasm Spiral a little down to play at a real casual level. But I have a lot of fun with it, and with zombies being the theme, you know, no better time to show it than during this Halloween spooky season. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you thought it was cool. Let me know what you think below. Also let me know maybe what your favorite Gemini monsters are. I have a lot of love for Gemini monsters. Because there's one like this called Doom Shaman that's also pretty cool. And let me know what your favorite zombie monster or zombie deck is to play during the Halloween season. Hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you all in the next time. Happy Halloween!